at the top of a towering mountain, where the icy wind cut through the thin air and the clouds seemed close enough to touch. Goku sat on a rock. His legs were crossed, his arms resting on his knees, and his eyes closed in deep meditation. The Saiyan warrior sought more than physical strength. He understood that his mind and spirit needed to be honed as much as his body. He had fought battles that defied the universe, facing powerful adversaries, but with each new fight, he realized that his raw power was not everything. Serenity and mental clarity became equally important. As he breathed slowly, feeling the ki around him, a thought began to germinate in his mind. A nuisance that he had been ignoring for months. Frieza. The former tyrant, the one he had defeated in the past and who had later returned stronger, had not given any sign of life in months. There was no information about him anywhere in the universe. This in itself should not have been a concern, but Goku knew his enemy very well. Frieza was proud, ambitious, and above all, relentless in his pursuit of power. His sudden disappearance seemed more like preparation than retirement. A slight uneasiness ran through Goku's body. He knew that Frieza was not the kind of enemy to remain silent for so long, especially after their last confrontations. All the while, Frieza had been coming back stronger, more determined. Is he training? Goku thought. This thought bothered Goku so much that he immediately opened his eyes, interrupting his meditation. The idea of Frieza being somewhere improving himself reminded him of their previous battles. Each time Frieza returned, he was more powerful, more relentless. Goku knew that he and Vegeta had managed to overcome Frieza so far, but if that monster was indeed training again, who was to say how far his powers could go this time? What's more, if Frieza was truly preparing, he could seek revenge, and perhaps this time, they wouldn't be ready to stop him. Without hesitation, Goku stood up, his fists clenched. If Frieza was training, he needed to be stronger too. He couldn't allow Frieza to surpass his own strength. But before he made any rash decisions, he needed answers. He decided that the best way to find out would be to ask the one who knew everything directly. Shenron. The determination in Goku's heart drove him to begin his journey in search of the Dragon Balls. He had become a master at locating them, and he knew that time was of the essence. Every second Frieza spent training was one step closer to becoming an invincible foe. Before long, Goku had gathered all 7 balls, and the sky, which had once been clear and serene, became dark and heavy with stormy clouds. The wind began to blow strongly, and then the eternal dragon, Shenron, appeared. "Say your wish, Goku!" Shenron's deep voice echoed across the sky. Goku looked at the gigantic dragon and without hesitation asked, "Shenron, is Frieza training?" The dragon's red eyes glowed, and there was a moment of silence, as if Shenron himself were consulting the secrets of the universe. Then his deep voice rang out again. "Yes, Frieza is training. His strength is increasing rapidly, faster than you imagine, Son Goku." Goku's heart pounded. He knew Frieza was ruthless, but hearing it from Shenron's mouth confirmed his worst fears. Frieza was about to become a threat that could surpass even him and Vegeta. He could not allow that to happen. "Thank you, Shenron," Goku said. "You can rest now." The dragon disappeared in a burst of light, and the Dragon Balls scattered to the ends of the earth. Goku stood for a moment, processing this information. Frieza was getting stronger and he did not know how far his power could go. Goku was facing a new challenge. Shenron's revelation about Frieza's training echoed in his mind constantly. He knew his arch-nemesis was stronger, but the gravity of the situation was pushing him to surpass his own limits, to achieve something beyond what he had ever known. Determined to overcome this growing threat, Goku returned to what he knew best, relentless training. But this time, something was different. The allies who had always accompanied him in his training were not available. Vegeta was elsewhere, probably also training, and Gohan, Piccolo, and the others were focused on their own lives. There was no one available to help him. However, this did not shake his determination. Goku, as he had done so many times before, decided to train alone. For weeks, he secluded himself in the mountains, far from civilization. The harsh, wild environment was the perfect place for him to test his limits. During this time, he faced the forces of nature, the relentless winds, the raging storms, the biting cold of the nights. Every moment, every second of fighting against the elements made his body and spirit grow even stronger. Goku was on a lonely, but no less determined, search for a power that could be enough to face Frieza at his peak. It was during one of these intense training sessions, when he was on the edge of physical and mental exhaustion, that something unexpected happened. His ki began to flow in a different way, and he felt a surge of power he had never experienced before. Goku's hair began to glow in a completely new hue, and an incandescent energy enveloped him. The the Saiyan warrior transformed into something beyond anything he had ever achieved. He called this form Super Saiyan 10. This new transformation was overwhelming. The power in his body was unimaginable. His abilities heightened to levels he had never thought possible. With each blow he struck the air, the space around him seemed to distort. But there was a problem. Despite his immense power, Goku could not maintain the transformation for long. His body was not prepared to contain that energy in a stable manner, and this became a risk. Goku thought deeply about what he could do to stabilize this transformation. He could not fight Frieza if he was not able to control his own power. It was then that an idea began to form in his mind. The Dragon Balls had always been a source of answers and solutions to the most impossible problems. Perhaps they could be the key to helping him control Super Saiyan 10. Without hesitation, Goku began his search for the 7 Dragon Balls once again. As always, he knew where to look, and his connection to the earth made the process easier. Within days, the balls were gathered before him, ready for another request. But this time, Goku decided to do something different. Instead of immediately summoning Shenron, Goku felt he needed to connect more deeply with the balls and the power they contained. He sat in the lotus position. The glowing balls spread out before him and began to meditate. Time passed, and Goku remained motionless, his breathing in perfect harmony with the flow of energy he felt around him. He remained like that for 2 days straight, not moving, not speaking, just allowing his mind, body, and spirit to align with the power of the spheres. At the end of the second day, something extraordinary happened. The Dragon Balls began to glow brightly, as if responding to Goku's inner call. Little by little, their glow intensified until one by one, the Dragon Balls began to dissolve into pure energy and enter his body. He felt the power of the Dragon Balls being absorbed by his body, becoming part of his essence. At that moment, Goku opened his eyes. His body was enveloped in golden energy, and effortlessly he transformed once again into Super Saiyan 10. But this time, the transformation was different. There was no more pain or instability. Goku felt the power flowing freely throughout his entire being in a steady and controlled manner. More than that, he felt an internal change. This new form was not just a physical evolution. Super Saiyan 10 seemed to transform his very mindset. He was more serious, more cool-headed, focused on a level he had never experienced before. It was as if the fusion with the Dragon Balls had purged his mind of any distractions, transforming him into a perfect warrior. Goku slowly stood up, feeling the strength of this new transformation pulsate through his body. He knew he was ready to face Frieza or any other threat that might arise, but he also understood that with this new power came a greater responsibility. He could not act impulsively or emotionally as he had in the past. Now he was a fully focused warrior, a fighter with a clear purpose. Frieza had no idea what he was about to face. After weeks of intense training, Goku had finally mastered his new transformation, Super Saiyan 10. He had discovered how to quickly fuse with the Dragon Balls, accessing that power without needing long periods of meditation. Each day of training brought more control, precision, and above all, confidence in his ability to maintain this form. He knew he was ready, but he also knew that his greatest test was yet to come. It was during a quiet afternoon, while resting after yet another rigorous training session, that he felt something that immediately put him on alert. A familiar presence, oppressive and full of malice, was rapidly approaching Earth. Goku was silent for a moment, feeling the growing Kai. There was no doubt, it was Frieza. Goku's heart raced. The encounter he knew was inevitable was finally about to happen. Frieza was more powerful than ever, just as Shenron had said, but now Goku had also surpassed his own limits. He felt a mixture of excitement and seriousness. The confrontation with his archenemy would not be just a physical battle. It would be a clash of wills, of evolution, where both were at their peaks. Wasting no time, Goku shot through the sky, leaving his training ground in the mountains and heading towards the exact point from which Frieza's energy radiated. As he approached, the sky around him began to change, dark clouds forming and thunder echoing through the atmosphere. Frieza's arrival seemed to influence even the Earth's very weather, as if the universe recognized the imminence of an epic duel. In a matter of minutes, Goku landed on a vast plain. The terrain was deserted and silent, but the tension in the air was palpable. On the horizon, a small spaceship could be seen landing gently on the ground. The ramp of the ship opened, and from within it, Frieza emerged, floating in the air with a cruel smile plastered on his face. "Goku," said Frieza, his voice icy and calculating. "It's been a while, hasn't it? I hope you enjoyed your last moments of peace." Goku landed on the ground in front of him, his serious gaze fixed on the tyrant. "Frieza, I knew you were training, but I must warn you." this time, you're dealing with a completely different Goku." Frieza's smile widened. "Oh, I look forward to seeing how much you've improved, Saiyan. But don't think your efforts will change the outcome. This time, I'm invincible." Without another word, Goku and Frieza stared at each other in silence, their powers beginning to flow to the surface. The wind around them began to blow harder as the two titanic forces prepared for the clash. This was the moment they had both been waiting for a long time. The fate of the planet and perhaps the universe depended on this battle. Goku clenched his fists and took a deep breath. "It's time to see how far you've come, Frieza." The clash of the arch-enemies was about to begin. Frieza was floating in mid-air, before Goku his expression cold and disdainful. Up until now, he had remained in his base form, not showing the power he had been accumulating during his intense training. However, when he realized that there was no other choice in what he considered to be a final confrontation with his arch-nemesis, a malicious smile formed on his face. "I see you came prepared, Goku," Frieza said, his voice thick with arrogance. "But it is time for you to witness the true power I have attained." Without further ado, Frieza began to unleash his energy. The ground beneath him began to crack, and the air around him grew thick with the immense power that was building up. The glow of his aura became dark and menacing, contrasting with the sheer strength that radiated from his body. Slowly, his form began to change, his skin turning dark, almost black, and a metallic sheen shimmered around its edges. This was his most powerful transformation, the form he had named Black Frieza. Goku watched the transformation closely, immediately recognizing the seriousness of the situation. He had heard rumors about this new form of Frieza, but now before his very eyes, the overwhelming energy of that power was confirmed. Frieza was far beyond any previous version of him that Goku had ever faced. The mere act of Frieza existing in this form caused the surroundings to tremble. However, Goku did not waver. His face remained firm, focused. He knew what he had to do. Without hesitation, he removed from his waist the small pouch that held the Dragon Balls he had recently collected. As Frieza boasted about his new power, Goku opened the pouch and the Dragon Balls glowed brightly as they were exposed to the sunlight. "It's time to see what I've achieved too," Goku muttered to himself, but loud enough for Frieza to hear. With a quick movement, Goku extended his hands and in an instant, the Dragon Balls began to merge with his body. The power they contained flowed through his veins, and in the blink of an eye, Goku was enveloped in a glowing golden aura. His brilliant white hair rose up and his transformation into Super Saiyan 10 was complete. The energy emanating from him was impressive, comparable to Frieza's own power in his most advanced form. Frieza's face was momentarily surprised. He had not expected Goku to have reached such a high level of power. However, his surprise quickly gave way to anger and competitiveness. He could not accept that the Saiyan he despised so much could rival him after all his training. "Impressive, Goku," Frieza said, keeping the venom from his voice. "But that won't change the fact that you will die today." Without giving any more time for words, Goku charged forward. Unlike the previous times when he had waited for the right moment to strike, this new transformation, Super Saiyan 10, made him cold, calculating, and ruthless. He had no interest in prolonging the battle or giving Frieza a chance to demonstrate his strength. In his focused mind, the goal was clear: to finish Frieza off as quickly as possible. Goku's blows were precise, each one striking Frieza with devastating force. The battle between the two quickly escalated, with energy blasts and exchanges of blows that destroyed the surrounding terrain. The shockwaves created by their attacks reverberated through the atmosphere, creating storms and destroying mountains all around. Despite his new transformation and immense power, Frieza soon realized that he was being outmatched. Goku's unstoppable power in his Super Saiyan 10 form was something he hadn't expected. Even in his Black Frieza form, he couldn't keep up with Goku's precision and speed. Every time Frieza tried to counterattack, Goku anticipated his moves, as if he already knew what he would do. "This is impossible!" Frieza shouted in frustration after being thrown to the ground with a punch straight to the chest. "I trained to be the strongest in the universe." Goku, still impassive, stared down at him. He didn't respond to Frieza's taunts. He knew that with this transformation, his mind was free of unnecessary distractions and emotions. The battle was his only focus. Realizing that Frieza was vulnerable, Goku knew it was time to end this. He took a few steps back, raised his hands, and began charging his most iconic attack. Frieza, seeing the imminent danger, tried to gather the last of his energy to counterattack, but it was too late. Goku's aura flared brightly and the power of the Kamehameha grew in his hands. With a swift movement, Goku launched the powerful blast of energy directly at Frieza. The force of the Kamehameha enveloped the tyrant, who screamed in fury and despair as he was completely consumed by the blast. In a matter of seconds, Frieza's body was disintegrated, and the threat he posed was finally eliminated. Silence fell over the destroyed plane. Goku took a deep breath, feeling the calm that followed the battle. He knew he had done what was necessary to protect the Earth and his friends, but something inside him still made him wary. The power he had achieved with Super Saiyan 10 was incredible, but he also knew that this level of focus and coolness could come at a price. It was at that moment that Vegeta arrived at the scene, observing the destruction around him and, mainly, Goku's new form. The Saiyan Prince remained silent for a few moments, processing what had just happened. He knew that Goku had surpassed all his limits once again. "So, Kakarot, you did it again, didn't you?" Vegeta said with a sigh, crossing his arms. "I'll have to train one more time to reach your level." Goku, still in his Super Saiyan 10 form, finally relaxed. He detransformed, returning to his base form, and a laugh escaped his lips. "It's always like this, Vegeta, but I'm sure you'll catch up to me soon." Vegeta gave a slight smile, although he was still frustrated, and looked at the horizon. They both knew that, although Frieza had been defeated, new threats would always arise, and when that happened, they would be ready once again to protect the Earth and the universe. Guys, this is how we end. Goku has finally achieved his most powerful transformation, which he called Super Saiyan 10. Did you like it? Do you think it's as powerful as Ultra Instinct? I commented. Don't forget to like and also subscribe to the channel. Bye!